Mr. President, let me first thank you for explaining to us your ideas and your achievements, I have to add, related to a modern, forward-looking, cooperative Russia. I would also like to use this opportunity to thank the members of your government. We have an extraordinary group of leaders from your government here to follow up in the next days some of the issues which you raised and which you raised in a way statements like manner. I would say, Mr. President, you may recall when you were here 4 years ago and you made your speech, which was very highly appreciated. I said at the end, we heard the speech of a future statesman. Now, 4 years later, I can say we heard the speech of a real statesman. Before we arranged this session and in agreement with President Medvedev, we made a call on knowing about your enthusiasm, I should say, for social media. We looked really, we asked the public, what questions should we ask you? And we got thousands of votes and responses. But I have to say, most of the answers you have already given. But nevertheless, I would like to maybe take up 3 or 4 questions which have emerged from this polling. They reflect very similar themes. And the first question would be, Mr. President, given the latest developments in Tunisia, how do you think governments should react to such calls for openness? You committed yourself to the openness of the internet. But what is your feeling of what has happened last week, and which is so much also in our mind, the events in Tunisia?
What happened in Tunisia, I think, is quite a substantial lesson to learn for any authorities. The authorities must not simply sit in their convenient chairs in the laurels, but develop themselves together with the society. No matter what country we're talking about, be it Europe, Africa, Latin America, when the authorities don't catch up with the development of the society, don't meet the aspiration of the people, the outcome is very sad. The chaos and disorganization will be faced. And this is the problem of the authorities themselves, also of the responsibility of the authorities. Even if much of which has been suggested to the authorities in office is unacceptable to them, the authorities should engage in dialogue with all types of folks. Otherwise, they will lose the real ground. This doesn't imply they should follow any recommendations given to them, the authorities, but they should listen to the people, what people have to say. Therefore, I believe this is a substantial lesson both to Africa and the Arab world and to any authorities, as it were. Having said that, this is a test for resilience, and I count a lot that the situation in Tunisia will stabilize and will not make its nefast effect on the entire situation in the Arab world. I've just visited Palestinian autonomy. I also visited Jordan, and naturally I understand how difficult the problems at hand in Palestine are and what needs to be done by all of us so that at the Palestine land the peace would reign and accord with the nearest neighbor, that is Israel, would reign. This is a big and difficult problem. Having said that, we all need to remember that in several cases, stemming from the results of the vote, some authorities might take office which will not enjoy liking on the part of the world community, but you will have to take them into account as well. Once again, this is a lesson. At the same time, this is a test for Tunisia, and this is a possibility to undertake a more serious analysis in this region as a whole.
Mr. President, you have already addressed the issue, but there were a lot of questions related to recent events which have raised concerns about adequate legal protection for those wishing to do business in Russia, and of course also corruption was mentioned very often. Would you like to add something to what you already mentioned before?
Я, конечно, должен,
Certainly.
может быть, чуть подробнее.
Perhaps I need, to talk in a greater detail concerning this very important problem in Russia. Russia is not the only country in the world facing corruption and where the legal system does not always act efficiently. However, we have to take responsibility concerning our own country, not fingering to others, saying they don't have less corruption than we do. We should address our own problems first and foremost. How to do that? Only thanks to the methodological, systemic countering to this corruption pressure, which includes a whole set of components. First, simply put, that's a real investigation of the corruption crimes, so that any bureaucrats perpetrating such acts would realize that he or she should end up very badly in his career. Then, introduction of modern civilized accounting procedures. Not so long ago in our country, I introduced a mandatory declaration of incomes of all civil servants. It's not an easy process. Not everybody is ready to do that, you know. You have to digest it. Nevertheless, it has become part and parcel of our life, which is important. Third, that's, of course, improvement of work of judiciary system, of the courts, and I'm aware of all the problems existing in this area. At the same time, I'd like to point out that as of recent years, for the first time in the whole history of our country, we have adopted this anti-corruption legislation, which is already a step forward. Now we have to learn to use it properly. Law enforcement agencies are not free from public trends in the society. These needs to be changed, and this is the main thrust of my work as a leader of the relevant structures and commander-in-chief of the armed forces. Finally, the court itself should be, on the one hand, absolutely independent. On the other hand, the court should feel its responsibility before the society, before the people. It shouldn't be behind thick walls, hiding, not allowing in its corporation anybody who would tend to believe that there are some problems inside that court. Therefore, I believe it is necessary for us to improve legislation pertaining to the monitoring of the status of our judiciary system. As such, all of that is being done. I cherish no illusions so that we'll be in position to do all of that within 1 or 2 years, but I'm glad we have embarked on that path, and I'm positive we'll be able to defeat corruption.
Mr. President, you have mentioned the START treaty, and how do you see the next stage of developments towards a global zero nuclear free world? And in this respect, how do you evaluate the relationship of your country with Iran?
Я тоже рад тому, что
I'm also glad
мы все-таки довели процесс
that we have completed this negotiation process, START treaty to its logical conclusion, almost finalized it. When I come back from Davos, sometime later, there will be a text of the ratified treaty on my table.
Я разговаривал
I have had a word very recently with the President Obama, and we agreed even how we can carry out exchange of these documents. But we should go further from here. I believe this was a very optimistic moment in the most recent history. Even many impediments on that road we have embarked upon. Still, on the part of Russia and US, we have finalized this process. And I hope that it's now easier for breathing of many people residing in this planet, simply because we have been able to agree upon these things, which is also of paramount importance. I believe we should continue our efforts in limitation of strategic offensive weapons, and another subject matter related to it, that's missile defense. Today in Europe, they've been deploying the European missile defense system. Russia considers itself as part and parcel of Europe, and nobody challenges that anywhere, and we would like to see to it that we too would feel ourselves as secure, if only because of the fact that this missile defense might one day be turned into strategic nuclear potential. We have put forward our proposals. We're open for cooperation, and like to see to it very much that in 10 years' time, the future leaders of Russia and US and of European countries would not have any conflicts about it, but rather would adopt concerted agreements on this score, which is very important for our future. We should follow closely the outlook of the entire world nuclear weapon situation. You have mentioned Iran here. Iran happens to be our partner and neighbor. At the same time, there are several questions posed by the European community before Iran, and Iran must answer those questions. The international community so far has not got information to the effect that Iran is in the process of building nuclear weapons. On top of that, Iran is part of the NPT treaty, Non-Proliferation Treaty. This is precisely why Iran must evaporate all the doubts on the part of European community, international community concerning its nuclear program. They should prove the case that's the peaceful nuclear program. Russia has a long-term fruitful relations with Iran. We'd like to use all possibilities there so that this difficult dialogue currently in progress be concluded with success. Not so long ago, I gave a call to the President Ahmadinejad, and I mentioned him precisely that in this conversation, and he told me he agreed with such position.
Mr. President, you were very generous with your time, and let me just end this discussion with asking maybe one or two more general questions. One which came out of this survey on the web, and one of the questions, it may be quite provocative, was if someone would come out on WikiLeaks about Russia, what could it be?
Good question.
Спасибо.
Thank you.
Я считаю, что
I believe,
только что выступая на этой трибуне,
just speaking at this rostrum here,
отчасти выступил
I
в защиту,
partially supported WikiLeaks here
когда сказал,
when I said
что сегодня миллиард
that
человек
today 1 billion
связано
people in the world are
сетями
interlinked with these invisible networks of communication.
Даже самая серьезная
No
тайна
other
сегодня
a very serious secret can be guaranteed and immune from being disclosed today. At the end of the day, I believe that this WikiLeaks story should make the spirit of international relations healthier, even if in itself this is an illegal activity in understanding of several states. But the impact of this story, I think, for international relations is quite positive. Now, as regards, let's say, what basically is being leaked, has been leaked, I believe to some people it might be of interest, to others it would be no secret at all. Just from my perspective, from what I read concerning Russia there, from the materials which found their way to these leaks, there has been nothing new to me in it. Periodically, I got a sense that most assessments which found their ways to WikiLeaks concerning Russia were taken from the general politics sites in internet. Perhaps it concerns some, but not us. We are tough guys.
Two last questions, Mr. President. Listening to you, I'm sure that many here in the room had to correct some of the perceptions they had of Russia. You showed us a modern Russia, open Russia. What is for you personally the perception which you encounter very often in your discussion about Russia, which makes you most upset? Wrong perception. What do you feel is the biggest wrong perception abroad about Russia?
I would think that any stereotyped perceptions can really be distressful, and I wouldn't think that there is just one sole thing in this regard which would make me feel extremely upset in emotional sphere. Sometimes it's unpleasant to read certain things. And you know what struck me in this regard? In the morning, when I open internet, let's say through this well-known gadget here, and I would read some reaction regarding Russia, the Russian government, me personally. I can tell you, it is waking me up very freshly. I lose all the sleepiness. On the other hand, I get wish there to promptly respond to some of those reactions through Twitter, to give a call to the President's administration to dispel some wrong perceptions there. But then I would shelve this gadget, because no need to hurry ever. You need to act in a clear-cut manner, with all the precaution taken. Anyway, the truth will always find its way.
Very last question. You are a very young president, and when you look now at your present presidency, I know it's a question which you have answered to a certain extent, but what is for you personally, what is your driving force as a person You work so hard, you don't sleep, but what drives you? What drives you?
Мне кажется, ответ очень простой.
I think the answer is very simple.
У меня очень интересная работа.
My work is very interesting.
И тот, кто считает иначе из президентов,
Those presidents who think otherwise, differently,
обманывает себя.
most probably they are deceiving themselves.
Работа, которая
The work
заставляет быть
which makes you
мобилизованным
be
24 часа в сутки.
mobilized for 24 hours a day,
Ответственность,
responsibility
которую ты ощущаешь
which you feel
круглые сутки.
day and night,
Ответственность перед своей страной.
responsibility before your own country, before the people who have elected you.
Знаете, в этом случае всегда можно
In this
найти
case, you can always find some strength in you.
даже если ты
Even
очень устал,
if you are very tired,
страдаешь от джетлага,
if you suffer from jet lag,
происходят какие-то неприятные вещи.
or even some unpleasant things are happening.
Мне кажется, это главное для
I think this is,
любого человека, ну и для президента.
The most important thing for any person, including
Поэтому
presidents,
у меня очень
in
интересная,
life. Therefore,
очень важная
my
работа.
work is very interesting and very important to me.
Mr. President, in your important work, we offer you all the best wishes. Again, also our condolences. And we hope that you continue what you have explained to us. And we wish you all the best success for it. Thank you very much for coming.
Спасибо.